made it in. All right, what's up? Oh, I need my iPad. Stand by. Alright, now I'm here. Hello! We did it! What's going on? Little guy, little girl. Penny, young Penny in the other room, taking a nap right now. Welcome in to a surprise-ish fantasy lunch. That is very close. There we go. Hello. Yeah, my hair's decent today. Also, my Vegas Golden Knights hat is missing, so I'm wearing the shirt instead. Hello, everyone. Welcome into the Fantasy Lunch. Sorry I have not been around. Oh, it's been a busy week. Let me let that hang there for a second. I have been a busy person. It's all good news that you'll learn about eventually. What's going on? A couple things. So, a lot of you asking about the Fantasy Camp podcast. The plans are in motion. Not this week. I'm hoping by next week. I think it's back. Nothing finalized yet. We're going to do it. I'll tell you that. Tentatively, going to have a co-host this year. Someone that's going to bring a different element to the podcast. Someone that I think can bring an element of expertise to the podcast that's different from what I bring. So that is coming your way. In probably the next week. We're getting my idea is get one in before probably the start of the season, but I'm shooting for next week. So if you've been asking about the podcast, I apologize that we're not there yet, but I think we're shooting for next week. So there's that. Something to look forward to, and I'm really happy with who I think we're bringing on. Which fantasy platform allows you to customize for larger rosters? Oh, okay. It's interesting you bring that up, Raph, because I think we're doing a mock draft tonight. We're doing it. It's not. Oh, all right. Let me one at a time. I think we're doing a mock draft tonight. I think we're gonna do it on Twitch. I brought this up on Twitch a couple weeks ago or last week. Twitch.tv/the and that will be where we host the draft. I'm either going to do it on Play Draft or another platform. It'll be a freebie, whether it's a mock draft or a best ball, because it's first time doing it for some of you guys. So I want to make sure you guys can be involved. What I'll be able to do is I'll be in the mock with you guys, and then we'll put the board up on the screen. And I'll probably put myself down in the corner. So we're going to do that tonight. My guess is probably 9:30 Eastern-ish. So if you're interested, keep an eye out on my Twitter for that, the Matt Camp. Podcast, I will tell you, I will give you this. It's not Nelson. I'd love it to be Nelson. It's not Steven Nelson. Although I'm sure he'll be a listener. I talked to Steven Nelson yesterday. He's a very busy man with the MLB Network and NHL Network. But it is not him. But it is someone who I think is, some of you will know, and someone who I think brings a lot to the table. I like to have a second voice in the podcast. I think it adds a little more entertainment value. We'll have a little bit more fun. I was very straightforward with it last year. And some of you were like, hey, it's 35 minutes. I get what I need. I'm out of there. I like the lack of BS. And it'll still be that for the most part. But I think it's going to add someone who I can kind of bounce some things off of. Someone I do bounce some things off of on a regular basis because I trust what the person thinks. So stay tuned for that. That's what I'll tell you about that. Hello, Mike. Good to see you. All right. So you guys got some questions. Which fantasy platform allows customized for larger rosters? That's a good one. You bring that up, and I tell you that I love using myfantasyleague.com. They do not pay me a dime for that endorsement, but I use them for a lot of my sites. Very customizable for the variety of leagues you may play in, the bigger rosters, anything like that. I'm all for bigger rosters. I've talked about that on Sirius and talk about it all the time. So, yeah, I love myfantasyleague.com. When anybody asks me what they want to use and how can they use a platform and be much more customizable with how they do things, yes, I would tell you to go there. You can do a lot with their website. Highly recommended from me. If you see a lot of our drafts that we do on Sirius or the industry expert drafts, we use that website. Tells you a lot. Deep sleepies. Cuban Lopez not quite there yet with those. I can tell you, you'll probably see a lot more about the deep sleepies this season. Other than me just dropping them on podcasts and stuff. Okay, let's get some questions. If you have questions, fire them in there. I'm rolling back, so if you got questions, get in there. Keepers as well on myfantasyleague.com, Ryman. Not My Fantasy Draft. myfantasyleague.com. They do every format, so yes. Polittle. I'm getting DJ or C-Mac, my choice in first round. Do I keep Evans third, Cooper fourth, or Carson sixth? I need two of those three. I would go Evans and Carson all the way. Very, very simple. I think Evans could be a second-round pick. I have Evans. And by the way, if you have questions, a lot of you know this, just give me the scoring format. Just easier because it will change some answers. Mike Evans is my number 8 wide receiver. So I want to bring this point up. I think there are 7 wide receivers who I think could finish as the number 1. These are all obviously number 1 tier guy. Mike Evans is in that conversation as well. But I have 7 wide receivers. This is how deep the position is this year, who I think can be the number 1 guy. Hopkins, Adams, Julio, Michael Thomas, Juju, Tyreek Hill, and Beckham. If you told me any one of those 7 guys finished the season number 1 overall wide receiver, I wouldn't be surprised. I have Evans a step down from that, but number 8 overall and still a very good wide receiver 1 tier guy. But I think the 7 names that I mentioned could be the number 1 overall guy. Hilton at 9, and I'll address it since I see questions already. I have Antonio Brown at 10. I haven't moved him with any of this stuff that has happened because, first of all, if someone could get him a helmet that he likes, that would be nice. But it felt like, okay, he's either going to play with his helmet or he's not going to play and retire. Sounds like he's out there. We got that. No surprise. It's a really weird situation. And then the foot thing, I've been telling people, like, it's hard to judge for me. It's, not, well, he's got a sprained ankle or he's got a bad toe or plantar fasciitis or whatever. It's not that. He cryogenically froze his feet. Sounds like he'll be okay for the start of the season. I haven't moved him. I kept him at 10. I'm leaving him at 10. I'll tell you that. But guys like Evans and Hilton are guys I would take over him. I have been taking over him. I have Keenan Allen just below him at 11 in PPR. If you want to take Allen over Antonio Brown, I don't have a problem with that. All right. So, answer that question. DJ Henry. Say I end up with Kelsey. Should I even bother drafting a backup tight end or use that bench spot for a high upside run? Yeah, I would say that, unlike quarterback, I think it's okay to have a second tight end on your roster because it could go into the flex. You could strike gold there. Would it be a priority if you take Kelsey? No. But by the same token, if you get to like the 6th round, and this is assuming you can use a tight end in the flex spot, and you think the best player on the board is a tight end, it's, Evan Ingram or Hunter Henry, then take him. Because you'll put him right, that guy will go right in your lineup. So I don't think of it the same way as I think of a backup quarterback, because if I'm only starting one quarterback and only can start one quarterback, if I take a Mahomes or a Rodgers or Luck's a different story right now. We'll get to that. If I take any of those big-time quarterbacks, no, I'm not taking a backup. But if I take one of the big-time tight ends, I could take a second tight end and put that guy in my flex spot. So, once again, it depends what's on the board and when you're drafting. With McKinnon on IR, how far? All right, let's just get this. I don't want to say that. I know what's going on with McKinnon. I know it's very much up in the air. I just want to make sure we're up to date on the news there with Jerick McKinnon before we say that. I know he's banged up. IR is not the right word. Going to the IR. All right, hold on a second. Let's just make sure we get this right. Because I saw this, and I don't want to pass along bad information. Expected to start on IR. Okay. Can't say I'm shocked. I'm big on Tevin Coleman. Been big on Tevin Coleman. Kind of gave you a hint that I knew Kyle Shanahan wanted to get Tevin Coleman. He got Tevin Coleman. I was kind of assuming that Jerick McKinnon wouldn't play a massive factor this year for the Niners or would end up elsewhere. I think that is out the window. I have Coleman at 24 in a PPR. I don't think I'm going to move him much higher, but I'll tell you what, I'm looking for reasons to move him higher. Matt Breida does move up in the world, certainly. I think Tevin Coleman should be the guy in San Francisco. I love him as an RB2. You've been able to draft him as an RB3. That might change with the McKinnon news. But I'm okay investing in Tevin Coleman because I'm investing in that backfield. And even if Matt Breida is involved, that's okay. A young child is crying. We're going to have to bring her on the show. Hang on one sec. Hey, what are you doing? Come on. You're on the show today. Let's go. All right. Co-host. Young Penny. Oh, you can only see the top of her head. There she is. Say hi to everybody. All right. She's wearing her assistant to the regional manager shirt. She's having a great time. Now you're only going to see the top of her head because she's got to sit down here. All right. Anyway, let's move along here. How are the dogs? The dogs are good. They're sleeping inside. I'm surprised they've not run in yet. I'm a little surprised by that. But Frank and Bean's doing well. We're going to probably work them in some way, shape, or form along with young Penny for Penny and Pugs pick kickers. Say hi. Doing well. Had some lunch. Hopefully he doesn't poop during the show. Let's see. Okay, Cougs, how do you feel about D. Williams? Report he's running majority with number 1. I assume you mean Damian Williams. Damian Williams is my number 12 running back in PPR. What I will say about Damian Williams is he's on that RB1, RB2 borderline. He's the one I have the most concern about. I've brought this up many times on various shows. He's never had more than 50 carries in his career in a single season. He hasn't had a 30-catch season. You're asking for a lot for Damian Williams to take a big step up this year. I get why he's in line to do so. I get that he did well at the end of the season. He won people fantasy championships. He played well against the Colts in the playoffs. Sure, that's all there. But now we're talking a full season for Damian Williams. And I don't think Carlos Hyde is any good, but I also think that if the Chiefs feel like Damian Williams is not able to handle the workload, and maybe they go by week 6 and they go, you know what, giving this guy 15 carries a game and throwing him the ball a few times, it's hurting his efficiency. Maybe we give some carries to Carlos Hyde. Maybe we look around at running back, and maybe we keep Damian Williams busy as a receiver. I think that's a possibility. There's a little volatility there with him. I get drafting him, to be rather have him as an RB2, but I get it if you take a wide receiver in the first round, you come back around Williams. I get that. I get wanting to be in the Chief offense. I get that. We know what that can produce. We know what Andy Reid can produce at the running back position. These are all positive things for Damian Williams. But it's a massive step up in his workload that we've never seen before. This guy's never been on the fantasy radar in this kind of way. So there's a little volatility there that gives me some concern. I heard the RBBC conversation, the running back by committee. I don't think that's going to happen necessarily right away. But if it turned into that because the Chiefs don't feel like they're getting enough efficiency out of Williams and feel like, okay, if we involve Hyde more, that's a possibility. I think that's something to look in. I think that's something to at least acknowledge could happen. So I'm not against the guy, but I think he's the one that gives me the most concern, probably as a pick in the second round, at least at the running back position. All right, good question, though. Would you take Kelsey at 11 in a 12-team PPR skins? No, I wouldn't. He was in that conversation a bit when the Hill thing was up in the air. Would Hill be suspended? I don't think I would. Based on where I have Kelsey projected, he's basically he's got the same numbers as, or he would fit in as my number 8 wide receiver. So would I take him 11? No, because I would take other receivers in front of him. I would take other players. Now, you want to take him in the first half of the second round, I don't have a problem with that. But I think 11's too early. Who do you like most, a wide receiver 2 in standard? Okay, Tricep, good question. DJ Moore, Alshon, or Allen Robinson? By the way, ranking-wise, I think I'll have an update probably tomorrow. I made a couple of tweaks here and there, but I want to put something out there that'll say, hey, this is the update. that has put a lot in. I always kind of tweak things. Sometimes I put it right up on Fantasy Pro. Sometimes I keep it to myself if I'm going to do more. So I think I updated like Thursday or Friday. So I'll take some of the stuff into account. Okay, Moore, Alshon, or Robinson? I have Alshon at 21. I have Moore at 24. I have Allen Robinson at 28. So tricep there is where I would go with that. I think Alshon's kind of getting overlooked a little bit. Let me bring up some ADP information so I can kind of prove my point. All right, so ADP in standard for triceps question here at wide receiver. Let's see where we have these guys, or let's see where they stand right now. So Alshon is at wide receiver 28, 67.7. DJ Moore is wide receiver 26, 65.7. And Allen Robinson is wide receiver 31, 79.3. I like Jeffrey Moore. He's coming into the season healthy. Not the case last year. Carson Wentz is coming into the season healthy. I think he could be a damn good wide receiver too. So if you're getting him as wide receiver 28 where he's going, pushing now into, what's that, the 6th round, 7th round, man, I think that's a real good spot for Alshon. Once again, I'm investing in the Eagles this year. Let's see. Nick, I keep Ertz to keep my 5th rounder. Yes. Or Sony as my 8th rounder. Nick, I just go Ertz. I think that's about a 2-round discount for Ertz. I think Sony's fine, but I'd rather have Ertz. Ertz is a dominant player at his position. Sony Michel is just a decent RB2. When do you feel comfortable drafting Todd Gurley? Late 2nd round in standard. I don't know if I feel... I wouldn't say comfortable in the 2nd round, no. My RB14 in standard... Let me see where I have him in standard. So it's weird because there's so much volatility with Gurley. If he's healthy, and I don't believe anything coming from the Rams on his situation, and it's good, it's fine, it's great, whatever. I have Gurley at 12 in a standard. And apparently that's 4 spots off ADP and only 1 spot lower than expert consensus ranking. So that compares everybody on Fantasy Pros and does a consensus. So it sounds like he's 11 there. ADP puts him at 8. I disagree with that completely. I got him at 12 in standard. I got him at 14 in PPR. I keep bringing up load management. I think that's a possibility. I don't think the Rams want to overwork him. You have Henderson there. You have Malcolm Brown there. You're 3 deep at receiver. You have a good defense. You don't have to overwork Gurley necessarily. Now, let's bring up the Rams' schedule because I think that comes into play. And a lot of people ask about schedule and, you're worried about strength of schedule. That stuff is not something I buy too much into. I've heard people ask me about, fantasy playoff schedule. So much stuff's going to change between now and then. All right, so the Rams go at Carolina. Looking up here. Home against the Saints, at the Browns, home against the Bucs. Not an easy schedule to open the season. So you would think if there's any struggles for the Rams, or do they go, well, screw it, we're playing them. That's a possibility. Then they're at Seattle, home against the Niners, at Atlanta, home against the Bengals. That is a brutal schedule for the Rams, but then again, first place team, that's what happens. Man, and they're at that schedule. I mean, just on paper right now, holy crap, is that schedule tough. There's you get the Cardinals twice. I guess you get the Niners twice. The Buccaneers in L.A., but there ain't a lot of easy ones on there for the Rams. At least as things stand right now. They're going to be in a battle this year. But first place schedule, once again, that's how it works. So, like I said, they could be trying to play it smart with Gurley. But, I mean, what if they open up 1-4? And they've tried to be smart with Gurley and it's not working. There's a lot to take into this. There just hasn't been a lot of positive for Gurley this offseason. Once again, starting with the Super Bowl when they didn't play the guy very much. So, comfort, I don't have it yet in Todd Gurley. And I don't know if we're going to have it because I don't think we're going to see much of him, if any at all, in the preseason. Is Kelsey worth 11? Oh, I covered that already. How late would you draft Antonio Brown? How late? Or how early, I guess, is more of that question from Joe. Like I said, I have him at 10. I mean, he's going to play. They'll find that helmet or whatever's going to happen. I think the feet will be okay. I take him, I'd rather have him as my wide receiver too. I acknowledge you're probably not going to be able to get him there. I'll be very honest. If I come to his name in the 2nd round, I'm probably looking for a reason not to draft him. There's not a lot of good right now for me to get excited about. It's a downgrade at quarterback. All this other crap going on. He'll probably be fine. He'll probably finish as a top 10 wide receiver. But if he fell off and finished at 22 this year, would anybody be surprised? I wouldn't. So, I'm almost looking for reason not to draft him. And I have him on some best ball teams. Let me just acknowledge that. Is Sony a good pick at his ADP? And I know there was a report out there this morning that says Sony is ahead of Harris, and I'm not surprised by that. I'll tell you what. I have Sony Michel right now in PPR at RB27. I'm going to move him up. I'll probably get him into the Tevin Coleman 24 range. So let me tell you where he's going. ADP for PPR for Sony Michel right now. Sorry as I bring this up. RB2349. That's probably the area I'm going to have him. I think that's completely fair. I don't think it's a great value. I don't think it's bad. I think it's just fair. Simple as that. Really stuck trying to decide between my two keepers. This is from Vansterdam. I know Keenan Allen has higher ADP, but I'm bullish on Carry-On. Thoughts? I think Keenan Allen is safer. I love Carry-On. I love him. Last two keepers. I like the ceiling more. I have more trust in Keenan Allen. I would just keep him. Sometimes you get these questions, and it's not me knocking either guy. It's just saying who I feel better about. I like Keenan Allen, I like his situation more. I think Carry-On Johnson will be the focal point of the offense, but that doesn't mean I'll outscore Keenan Allen this year. JTE, should I take David Johnson at pick 4 or take Zeke if he falls? Standard scoring. Really depends on when you draft, JTE. If you got time and we can figure this out, we can see how things go, I'd still like to take Zeke. I have no issue taking David Johnson at 4 if we're up in the air. I think Zeke will be out there come week 1. Ford, thank you very much. K-Dubs, who do you think is this year's Nick Chubb and or James Conner PPR? A late round pick who could become and end up an RB1, an excellent future keeper. Okay, couple of names. I think Miles Sanders is in that conversation. I'm coming around on David Montgomery. I will tell you that. Man, I'd feel a hell of a lot better if they didn't have Tariq Cohen there. Because then the ceiling would rise. And if you're talking RB1, you got to catch passes. If you want to get into that conversation of who's going to make that jump, I want to see a guy catch passes. It's why I don't have Marlon Mack as high as I do. As maybe people are hoping for. Because I don't think he's going to catch passes. Because they don't need him to. I don't think David Montgomery is going to have to catch passes. That's my concern. Who else can get there? I could see Aaron Jones getting there. I'm not banking on it, but I could see it happening. Anybody down the list? That's really it. I think Devontae Freeman can get back into that conversation, but I don't think you're going to think that way. I want to keep him around. That's it. I think those are the guys. And I don't think any of those names should be that surprising. Good question, K-Dubs. That's a good one. I love that. We can flesh that out a little bit. Big John. Every time I do a mock draft, take one of the top 3 tight ends in the first round, I am disappointed in the balance of my team. Is tight end upside worth it, the risk of losing out on the high-end wide receiver or running back? I would say this, and I wouldn't disagree with that happening. There have been times where I have done that, and I don't necessarily like doing that, and then I like how my team looks. You need to look at the overall scope of your team. And I'd almost tell you to do this. Cover the names up. Look at projections. Look at, how your team may shake out. Because you'll see, and it's sometimes a mental block, and I had this for years, where I took Ertz, I took Kelsey, I took, who am I thinking? George Kittle. I took one of those guys. And you know where you have to take those guys, 2nd, 3rd round. And you go, I'm a little light at wide receiver, I'm a little light at running back. But you got to think of the whole overall scope of your team. You're far ahead of the majority, the strong majority of your league with one of those tight ends on your team. So you got to think of it that way. I would probably sacrifice running back a little bit more if I'm going to take one of those tight ends early, because I say this all the time, and it's not a 0 RB theory necessarily. It's I'm going to be replacing that spot. I don't care how good you feel coming out of the draft this year. You know you're going to the waiver wire at running back. It's a volatile position. I was talking to Adam Lefko last night. He said, why do I always fall in love, half joking, with RB? With the 0 RB theory. And I said because guys like Damian Williams and Jamal Williams and Elijah McGuire won people fantasy championships last year. That's why you fall in love with it. Because you think back and go, well, I hit the waiver wire and I won a championship because I went to the waiver wire. You're going to do it again this year. I hope it doesn't happen. I'd love to say I'll take, I don't know, you open your draft with Barkley in the first round. You take T.Y. Hilton on the turn, you take Kerryon Johnson, and you say, I got Barkley and Kerryon, and they're in my lineup, and I don't have to worry about a damn thing. I would like to say that's going to be fine. And they're going to play, and they're going to play at a high level, and they're going to play. But there's a good chance you're going to the waiver wire to fill spots in your lineup. I expect to do that in my second, third running back flex spot. I expect to do that. So I draft accordingly, and if I take that tight end early, maybe I'm grabbing an extra tight end earlier, or I favor on a tiebreaker. I'm in the 7th round. Do I take this wide receiver, or do I take another tight end? I probably, or take another running back. I probably grab that running back. And once again, I get back to the point. You're going to the waiver wire anyway. Ryman, 2 keepers, Kelsey, Chubb, Aaron Jones, Marlon Mack, leaning Kelsey and Chubb. I have no problem with that, and go right along with that move. Jordan Howard, thoughts on Miles Sanders. Cuban, I think he's insurance for Miles Sanders. I know the Eagles like having depth. Ask about their quarterback situation the last 2 years. They liked having that depth. But they didn't give up, anything of note to get Jordan Howard. I think if Sanders, all the buzz, I always bring this point up, the snowball effect. If there's buzz on a player in training camp, and then it leads into week 1 of the preseason, I'm noticing, but I want it to snowball. David Montgomery had buzz. Looks good in the first preseason game. Okay. You see his ADP start to shoot up in the world. Let's see that continue. Let's see him out there. Mike Davis got the first touches of that game against the Bears. That's okay. I'm not worried about that, but it's something to note. Let's see David Montgomery snowball that into more in the second preseason game, in the third preseason game. James Washington, another guy, some buzz there. Is it him? Is it Moncrief? Plays well. Shows up in the first preseason game. Good to see. But let's keep it going. Let's get that snowball effect so I can go, oh, the buzz started in May, that went to July, that went into August. I can believe in this. It's building up. That's how I think of this. So for Jordan Howard, I go, as long as Miles Sanders keeps it going, there's no real reason to get Jordan Howard all that involved. Now, could he score 5 touchdowns this year and score at the wrong time and drive us nuts? Absolutely. But I think the idea is to just go with Miles Sanders if he can handle the workload. And like I said, I keep bringing this back. If Miles Sanders gets to the LeGarrette Blount workload of 2 years ago, about 170-ish carries, and he'll catch more passes, then where I have him at RB28, he is absolutely going to pay that off this year. And he's on a good team. 4th pick and 10 more PPR. Do I go Zeke or DJ? I think we covered that a bit already. Ryan? I saw an article somewhere saying the Panthers were looking to get bigger back. I saw this for McCaffrey. Have you seen any of these rumors? Look, I think every coach is trying to protect his investment. And, yeah, is he going to lose some touchdowns? You know what I read that as? I read that as we don't want Cam Newton taking the goal line. That's what I read that as. McCaffrey's name was brought up, but I read that as, we'd like to keep Cam healthier, and Cam's going to dive over the pile, and Cam's going to get those touches. But I would say this, it's not just about protecting McCaffrey. It's about protecting Cam. I also think they don't really have that number 2 running back, and maybe that's something they're bringing up. That doesn't freak me out in McCaffrey. I also don't lose my mind about McCaffrey either losing touches, because he's going to get a ton of them anyway this year. In KC, is it Williams or Heights? Vinling, I covered that. Late round running backs. I mean, what's late round? I love getting Latavius Murray in drafts. I think I was ahead of the buzz on that one. I've been taking Peyton Barber. He's cheap. I know, Ronald Jones going in front of him. I like Naheem Hines in PPR going there. So I think this is starting to happen. But Kalen Ballage, and I bring this point up every year. If you can, avoid bad teams. I think the Miami Dolphins stink. I'm not saying anything crazy there. But Kalen Ballage at RB44 at 126 in a PPR versus Kenyon Drake at RB28, 67.4. and I totally believe Balazs can lead them in carries, I'm going to take Balazs. Very simple. The cost is certainly worth it. Let's see other late round guys. Who do I have late that I like? I don't think Deion Lewis is a bad guy to grab as your fourth running back in PPR formats. I know I loved him last year. I know it didn't work out. Who else? Best ball, don't mind taking LaShawn McCoy. That might sound weird, but he's going to probably be the guy, barring a trade, which isn't crazy. He's probably going to be the guy for the first 5 or 6 games. It's good enough for me. Late rounds. That's about it for now. We'll see. That could change. Is Keenan Allen one of the most underrated receivers in the league? Yeah. Joseph, you're a Chargers fan. You knew what I was going to answer. You just wanted me to say that. How do you feel about Naheem Hines? Drafted 14th, 15th. I could just cover that superstar car. Love him as a PPR back. Always a guy that if I'm stuck, I'll throw in there as a flex in PPR. Thoughts on the Fiend debut? I don't know if that could have been done any better. I put it on Twitter when he came out at SummerSlam the other night. That guy became a massive attraction. I think it was awesome they held him off for Raw because that entire presentation should be saved for a special attraction that you want to see it. I had one person not like it. One person. I totally thought they were wrong. So unique, perfectly done. I don't want to say Undertaker because that's so easy to, you just go, oh, he's that guy. But it's in that level of that mystique that when you see it, you go, holy crap. So I loved it. Loved it. And if they keep doing the funhouse and all that and you see both characters, that's cool too. Home run, the music, the presentation, the lantern, the mandible claw, the neck snap. Tremendous. Who do you think will be the first holdout to end? Gordon or Zeke? Zeke. Because they're going to pay him. Zeke or DJ at the 4 spot? Once again, if we don't know about Zeke, you got concerns, I'm okay taking DJ. What's up with Miles Sanders? Thinks he gets significant touches. I think we've talked about him plenty. Joseph Navarro. You're a Charger homer, Joe. I know this for a fact. Is he the best value at quarterback? I mean, I always like him. Where's he going? Rivers. I have him as a QB2. He's QB15. That's fine. He'll be in your lineups this year. I don't think you need to take him as a QB1, but I have him at 16. But the difference between him at 16 and Kyler Murray at 12, obviously his legs. That's part of it. But it's 10 points, if that. No, it's not even 10 points. So there's a big mishmash there. You'll be able to find those guys. Are you downgrading Luck, or do you think he plays week 1? I hear bone now. Now calf has gone to bone. Yeah, I'm moving him. I have him at 2. He's going down to at least 3. The arrow's pointing down. It sucks. This whole situation sucks. I don't know what to think. I want to give the Colts benefit of the doubt, but I remember what happened 2 years ago. I don't trust the word that Jim Irsay says. Whatever, he's saying bone. They're being positive. Luck's not giving you much. I know we have a lot of time. I don't need to see Luck play in the preseason. I don't. But I don't like it. I had optimism to calf, but it's not good. So I've gotten Luck on some teams. I haven't rushed to go get him either. But he will be moving out of the 2 spot. I'll put Watson in front of him. Rodgers could jump him soon. Mayfield could jump him soon. And then we're talking about Carson Wentz, who I have at 6. At this point, I just don't think I'm drafting him because he's probably going too high. And there's a bunch of guys I can take with confidence and play as a QB1. I believe a healthy Luck can be the number 1 fantasy quarterback. But there's other guys I can go get. First of all, our pick, if you had to choose, Barkley, Bell, or McCaffrey. I have Barkley at 1. Bell is absolutely not in that conversation. Hasn't been, won't be. Yeah. You want to take McCaffrey there in the PPR? Go ahead. You want to take Kamara in the PPR? Go ahead. How's that? Just a general question. Ooh, Evan, I like this. It's a good question. A general question. Where do you want to pick in a 12-team PPR? I want to pick at the turn. I want to pick 12 and 13 because I have so much flexibility. If you told me I'm opening my draft with Michael Thomas and Julio. Let's go. You want to open your draft with Michael Thomas and Beckham. Let's go. You want to open your draft with Joe Mixon and Michael Thomas or any of those receivers. Go ahead. I love the turn. I think I could do a lot of damage. I like how my teams have looked from that spot because I love what's there. I don't feel like I'm reaching for any player there. I don't care how the board shakes out. If 6 running backs go in the first round, I'm good to go. If 4 running backs go, whatever. I love what I can get there. I love how I can build my team from that spot. I love the turn. I also don't mind like 1 or 2 or 3 because I like coming back around with a T.Y. Hilton and a carry-on or maybe a Hilton and maybe a Keenan Allen perhaps. Maybe one of the tight ends perhaps. So I like either side, but I like that 12-13 spot. Do you think Penny's going to take touches away from Carson? Not significant touches, no. So let me, here, that's a good question because I am a big Chris Carson believer. I remain a big Chris Carson believer. I don't want to overrate Pete Carroll because we never like to hear what Pete Carroll says because he's full of it. But he can say that they want to give Carson more catches, and I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I believe that it should. How's that? So I'm not saying like he said it's going to happen. Pete Carroll's full of it. He doesn't care about our fantasy teams. He says one thing, something else happens. But he's 100% right that Chris Carson's a good pass catcher. And we probably don't think of him that way. All right, so here's Seattle's breakdown in terms of carries last year. Chris Carson missed a couple games, 46.3%. A pretty healthy number for a lead back, but not a massive number. He also had just 24 targets last year. So, yeah, that number should go up. Mike Davis had 21% of the carry share, 10.5% of the target share. That's an intriguing number to me. Rashad Penny was at about 16% of the carry share and had just 12 targets. By the way, Russell Wilson, 12.5% of the carry share. So if Carson stays where he was, around 46, and the targets go up, well, we're talking about a real good RB2 who I think could play at an RB1 level. Probably doesn't finish inside the top 12, but we're only in year 3 of Chris Carson. There's a sneaky one. If Chris Carson finished as an RB1 this year, I wouldn't be shocked. Not saying top 5, but if he finished like 12, 13, wouldn't be shocked. By the way, Chris Carson, ADP right now, RB24, 53. Give me him all day long. And I don't think Penny's bad. Penny wasn't bad. This Penny's a lot better, but I don't think Penny was bad. And if you want to just push over the Mike Davis workload to Penny and say he's going to be in like the 36, 37% carry range, that's okay. That's probably a low-end RB2 flex. They're going to run the ball a bunch. They ran it a bunch last year. And now Doug Baldwin's gone. So you want to push some targets to Penny? Okay. There's targets available with Doug Baldwin gone. There's carries available with Mike Davis gone. I think there's enough here for both guys to have fantasy value, but I really do like Chris Carson a lot. I think it's a good fit for that team. The same reason people are excited about Mark Ingram being in Baltimore, I think is the same reason people should be excited about Chris Carson, because they're going to play very important workloads. But Carson falls under the radar because he's not as big of a name as Ingram, and because he has a quarterback like Russell Wilson, people think, well, they got the quarterback in Wilson, they're going to throw. They are, and they'll throw more than Baltimore, but Carson's a really important part of that team. So I don't think Penny takes touches from Carson, but I think he has an increase in touches, if that makes sense. Let's see. Dynasty Startup League, should I take Kamara or Barkley? Barkley. Noah. If I have a really solid receiving core, is it risky to do a Melvin Gordon Fournette pair? You have no reason, Joseph, to put both of those players on the same team. You're going in with a risk anyway with Fournette. Healthy, whatever. But then you want to put Gordon there. I don't think you need to take on that much risk. You want to grab either one of the guys, fine. But I don't think you need to take on that kind of risk. Dalvin Cook worth second round pick. Mario, I'm good with that. Yes, I'm fine with him in the second round. I think there's a just drop off the right word I want to use. So Dalvin Cook is my number 11 running back. I have him behind Chubb. I have him ahead of Damian Williams in PPR. There's definitely a step down. Like, I have Melvin Gordon at 9, but I'll tell you right now, if he signs, he goes back up to 6. So, Cook's at the top of the RB2 conversation, bottom of the RB1 conversation. A really talented guy, but you can't ignore what's happened there. He's had trouble staying on the field. Mario, good question. Would you take Hyde as a handcuff if you're able to get Damian Williams given your concerns? No, because I don't think the concerns I bring up are going to merit. I don't think you need to take Carlos Hyde, because I think the concerns I bring up still keep Damian Williams in the RB2 conversation, because he's going to catch enough catches. It'll give Hyde more value, but I wouldn't call him necessarily a handcuff, because I don't think Hyde, barring a Williams injury, would step into a major workload. All right. You agree, Penny. How long can I wait to get Duke in PPR? I don't think you need to run up and get Duke. I think he's a little bit of a luxury to the Texans. Then again, Kiki Kuti got hurt. They could put him in the slot. Let's see. Duke Johnson PPR is RB50, 145, but he's moving up in the world. I don't know. You want to take him in the 9th round, 10th round in PPR. I guess that's okay, but I don't need to go get him. It's Tyler Lockett to Chris Hogan of this year. As by that you mean big play receiver who's going to be asked to do more and he's going to fall short of expectations? I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. I think he's a really good player. I think it's asking a lot to see a target share that's going to go up, keep the same efficiency. That's fair. Now, I say that, and I have Lockett at 23. I think I'm ranking him where he belongs. I don't want to go higher than that. Like, I don't see him being a top 15 receiver. I think people are hoping that that's the ceiling. I don't see it. If there were... And I realize he'll put at the top of the depth chart and Baldwin's gone. I just think that's shooting a little higher. Put him much higher than that. The efficiency's got to continue with the target share going up. That's always tough to do. You're avoiding Gurley at the end of the first, beginning of the second. Yes, Gorma, I am. Evan Ingram is stealing later rounds on a weak team. Is he a later rounds? Who's letting him fall down? I have Evan Ingram at 5 in PPR. What's later rounds for Evan Ingram? I mean, is that the 8th round? Yeah, go take him. Dev Campbell, who would you keep in a 2 QB league with 6-point passing touchdowns? Josh Allen or Jimmy G? Ooh, that's a very interesting question. So the 6 points per passing touchdown is actually going to depress the value a little bit of Josh Allen, because if it was 4 for passing versus 6 for rushing, it would favor Allen a little bit more. But because it evens that off, and by the way, you don't really change up quarterback rankings all that much when it's 2 quarterbacks. Or when the quarterbacks get 6 points per touchdown, because they all get that. But I would say that I probably feel better about Jimmy G, and I do have him a spot higher than Allen. Jimmy G is a quarterback that I think, first of all, nobody's making a point to go get him, but I think he's a guy that if you told me after the first month of the season he was playing at a top 10 level, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Being drafted as QB 21 right now at 159. He's a freebie. Let's see. Do you make your stat sheets available for your player list? I put them up, but they change so much, K-Dub. So, like, I put them up on Twitch, and I try to show you guys that, but they change so much, and it's tough to put out there. No, I don't really do that. I talk about them when I write. Figured that one out. How do you feel about Drew Brees' PPR league? Is he going to catch passes? I feel better about Taysom Hill in a PPR league. Drew Brees is my number, what I got him at 9? 8. My number 8 quarterback. Is Calvin Ridley a wide receiver 2 or 3? I'd rather have him as a 3. I think I have him ranked accordingly. I have Ridley, wide receiver 25, right at the top of a wide receiver 3 tier and a 12-teamer. What round would you start drafting QB in a 2 quarterback league? PPR with 8 teams. I don't know, 3rd, 4th. I've put up that board from the Superflex League we did on Sirius the other day, and there were 2 quarterbacks off the board in the first 2 rounds. I think there were like 4 in the first 3. I always say this: draw a line at the end of the quarterback 1 tier. If you think it's 8, you think it's 10, you think it's 14, get one of those guys. If you draft at the end of that tier, you want to get the second one quicker. If you think, here, just for example, K-Dubs, you're in an 8-teamer. My number 8 quarterback is Drew Brees. Now, I happen to think that the QB1 tier is probably 12, maybe 13 deep. You get to Murray, Trubisky, maybe Dak. If you draft at the end of that tier, you might want to get the second one quicker. If you get Mahomes, you get Watson, you get Rodgers, you get Mayfield. Maybe you say, I'm good taking Tom Brady as my 2. Ben is my 2. Lamar Jackson is my 2. Kirk Cousins is my 2. That's where I would say is different. But you don't have to go get him. And you don't have to follow the run if there's an early run. Nick Gav. I talked about Lockett already. Thoughts on getting Mark Ingram as a flex? That's tremendous because I would love him as an RB. I think he's a perfect RB2. 4th round guy, have him at 19, going to be a busy guy there. He'll catch some passes. I think if Mark Ingram's your flex, you're doing well. Easton, what's your thought on picking RBs the first 2 picks, then filling out wide receiver guys like Jeffrey, blah, 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 like having a good, heavy running back core and a good RB at flex? You can plan that way, and things can go up in smoke. You can plan that way, it can work out great. I always say you're going to the running back regardless. You're going to the waiver wire. If you think RB is the best players there in your first 2 picks, go ahead and take them. No problem with that. I just don't lock myself into that. I don't like investing that heavily in running backs because, like I said, I feel like I'm going to the waiver wire regardless. K-Dubs, have your views on Allison over MVS changed PPR given the recent quotes? Not really, no, because it's still early. And if Allison's working out of the slot, I'm a believer. By the way, I think if Rodgers and the Packers get their stuff together this year, I think they can support 3 fantasy wide receivers. I'm still leaning Allison, though. Thoughts on Andy Reid saying D-Dub isn't the guy? I think we talked about that earlier. I'm not surprised. I think he's frustrated by the injury. Safer play. Ebron or McDonald? Oh, safer play. You might have to call Ebron the safer play. I do have McDonald ranked higher. I like McDonald more. I have McDonald like less than 10 points higher than Ebron. I have a touchdown regression built into Ebron. You could argue that Vance McDonald might be more important to the Steelers than Ebron is to the Colts, and at the same time argue that the Colts offense is more trustworthy. So I have Vance McDonald higher than Ebron. Let's look at their ADPs. Ebron is tight end 8 at 80. McDonald is tight end 10, 92. I mean, I'll certainly take McDonald, say it later. 10T PPR 5, this is Rob. 1 being Barkley. Keep Thomas or Mixon? I trust Thomas more, and you have Barkley, so I would go with that, Rob. Is Metcalf a sleeper? Yeah, I kind of like him late. Where is Mr. DK Metcalf going? Wide receiver 45, 117.8. So the arrow's pointing up. He's definitely moved up in the world. I do kind of like him. I think sometimes talent, and I think there's a lot of it, it doesn't get hidden for long, and it's not like they're very deep in the receiving core. Tevin Coleman as a 3rd running back. Crumps, you get Tevin Coleman as a 3rd running back, you're doing a great job. Vance was on top 10 tight end. Husky, he was 10 last year. I think he's got an outside shot at top 5. I have him at 7. Nice Adam Shep. Yeah, like my... Look at all these books that I own in the plant here. Oh my goodness, I've ordered that for weeks to get ready for the shows. There's my fashion book here. I mean, I'm ready for everything. I got to dress well next week, so... Wait, what? Number 6 pick in a 12-team league, Hopkins or Adams, or an RB like Bell or Gurley or Cook. Certainly not Gurley, not Cook, probably not Bell either. I have Hopkins at 1, I have Adams at 2. I would take either one of those guys there. Could Hurd have a better season than Pettis? I will continue to say this about the Niners wide receivers. I don't know if there's a dominant guy there for fantasy. I think the targets could be split up a lot. I think it's all George Kittle, and then it's everybody else. So, no, I wouldn't be surprised by that. I just don't think there's a guy I'm really pumped about in the Niner wide receiver group. Still taking Zeke overall, 4th. If he can miss games, if I have to draft tomorrow, I'd probably take David Johnson, but I think Zeke will be out there week 1. What RBs do you like at the very later rounds? We've covered that a bunch. But I like very late. I can say that I like who? Like Singletary, and then realize that by week 5, if he's not getting carries and I can't keep him around, I cut him. It's always tough with that question because the idea is you draft them late with the hope that they hit quickly. Because if you draft late and then have to go to the waiver wire, those are the first guys you cut. So, like, later rounds is double digits. I don't know, Peyton Barber, Let's see, Naheem Hines. I'll tell you, in best balls, I've been getting a lot of Jamal Williams. Devin Singletary. I mean, best balls, I've been granting Madison because of Dalvin Cook's injury history. Best balls, I've been grabbing Raquel Armstead. Maybe you're looking at Darwin Thompson in Kansas City. It's tough because you want to grab those guys, but I think Kareem Hunt could be a league winner, but that's not till week 10. And if you draft him, you got to get to that point in the season where you haven't needed to use that roster spot. So, like, if you're 5-2 and you get Kareem Hunt on your team, you can survive without, being able to use him for a few weeks. I think he will be important to the Browns. Like, I think he's got a shot to be an RB2 in the second half of the season. And that's not to say Chubb's going to come off the field. It's just saying that you have fresh legs. Kareem Hunt's a damn good football player, so why wouldn't you use him? But you got to get to week 10. So you can draft, like some people, me included, drafted Nick Chubb last year, and I was lucky enough to be able to keep him around. So when he was on the field, it worked. Other people were like, he's on my waiver wire, and he was a huge waiver wire pickup, and he won people championships. That's what the tough part is. So I would say this. I like trying to look into situations where if the lead running back were to go down, the team wants to still run the football. I want to go get that guy. So maybe that's Singletary in Buffalo. Maybe it's Madison in Minnesota. Is Raquel Armstead going to overtake Alfred Blue if Fournette were to go down? Maybe you're thinking that's Matt Breida right now. But it doesn't mean they're going to play well right at the beginning. Josh Jacobs, RB2. Yes. Perfect RB2. I'm at 18. Is PPR RB7 too early for Connor? Do you think he regresses? I think it's fine for 7. 7's a fine spot for him. Who are some upside guys to draft in late rounds for keepers? I think we covered a couple of those at running back already. Wide receiver, Trey Quinn, Washington. Oh, you're not going to keep him though, right? Valdez Scantling. I mean, if you're going real deep, I kind of like Arcega Whiteside, but that's probably more dynasty. DK Metcalf. I don't think James Washington's going that late. You're trying to figure out the Niners, I'll tell you that one. I don't think we have clear answers. There's a couple upside guys late. I think we covered that. All right, I think we caught up. All right, so this lady might need to change. Mock draft or best ball or something tonight. Keep an eye on my Twitter because I think we're going to do it on Twitch. I'll be able to put the board up. You guys can draft with me. Here's what I would say. I think we're going to do a best ball. So... Oh, Funches. Yes, Funches is one of my late round guys. He's in the league winner conversation if luck's okay. So yeah, I like him. I think he's got top 30 potential. So I think it might be just easiest to do a best ball. So get that play draft app. We'll do a freebie, and then I'll draft with you guys. So probably 9:30 Eastern tonight. Twitch.tv/TheMattCamp. Follow it, and I'll put the link up, and then we'll do it. And you guys can draft with me. We'll talk about it as it happens. So that's cool. With Blue gone, do you think Texans stop pulling Miller when he's rolling? I don't think it was a matter of that last year. I think it was a matter of not giving him catches. He didn't need them. You have Duke Johnson to do that. I know he's a little bit banged up now. I think they were just trying to be smart with Miller and keep him efficient. I think it worked. They didn't overwork him. They certainly didn't give him too many catches. They got a good passing game. The line's a concern. I don't think Blue hurt him that much. Just more of an annoyance. Breakout tight ends this season. Vance McDonald. Can't say that one enough. Mark Andrews. My deep one's Noah Fant. That's if you want a deep sleeper. Just because of the Joe Flacco history with tight ends. Oh, and Herndon, but when he comes back from the suspension. What late round quarterbacks can be in Mahomes? Nobody's Mahomes. That's not a comparison. That's so easy to just say, like, I'll find the next Mahomes. I don't think that guy exists. I think people are kind of sleeping on Trubisky, and I don't think he's anything great, but he played at a top 10 level for a good portion of last year, and their offense is still good. Garoppolo came back, like I said, and found his way into that QB1 conversation. I wouldn't be surprised at all. But I don't think anybody's like in that Mahomes level. Not even close. And the Kyler Murray thing, I'm ranking him at 12. I think that's where he lands. I don't think it'll be much higher than that. And I had Mahomes and Trubisky as sleepers last year. So I feel good. I felt good about it last year. We saw where they played. I'm keeping Trubisky. You know, he was in the 20 area last year. Played higher than that. Mahomes in the 16 area. Obviously played higher than that. Tyrell Williams, late round sleeper, given the Raiders figure to be behind late a lot. I'm okay with that, yeah, because you're not going crazy. You're not asking a lot of Tyrell Williams if you draft him that late. And if he doesn't work out, you cut him loose. I don't know if Derek Carr's that good to support a lot of guys. How hard do you take on Murray? I have Murray at 12, like I said. And let's go Mets indeed. Let's go Mets indeed. All right, so twitch.tv/TheMattCamp. Keep an eye on my Twitter and this Instagram. Follow those. Facebook.com/TheMattCamp23. As I said, trying for fantasy camp as of next week. We'll see. I should have other announcements coming soon. They are positive. Things are looking better. I can keep it as simple as that. So all of that is good. Thanks for sticking with me. Sorry of the inconsistency of the schedule, but we'll try to get that kind of locked in a little bit better in the next week or two. That is it. So I'll see you guys soon. Make sure, if you want to get in tonight on that draft, get the Play Draft app. You can be part of what we're doing tonight on Twitch. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you soon. See you tonight. Bye, Penny.